Texas!
He's a 10.
I choose this family.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 91 of 911 Lone Star Roundup. I'm one of your hosts, EJ, and with me today are my lovely co-hosts, Katie.
Hey guys.
And Grace.
Hi everyone.
Today we'll be talking about season 4, episode 10 of 911 Lone Star, titled Sellouts. There's a lot that happened in this episode, so we're just gonna get started and go from there. I remember hearing about this being the TK, Tommy, Nancy episode because they're gonna have a lot of stuff, and yeah, they delivered on that one.
Oh yes, they did.
They did. Yes, they did. So we start with this older guy answering the door. Tommy, Nancy, and TK have just arrived, and this kind of older guy, and he was very like, "Oh, it's you," kind of like response.
It was weird.
And they're like, "You did call the paramedics, right?"
I had a feeling where this was going when he started acting all weird. Like
Right.
I kind of figured that out real quick.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh well," he's like, I'm assuming it was his wife having some pain in her head and didn't know why, and she's having an issue with her eye. So they're like, "Okay, well So she started talking and asking questions. Oh my god! So this woman wears contacts and they're disposable, so she just leaves them and doesn't take them out, and they quote unquote fall out. No, they don't fall out. They go back into the back of her eye, or up into her eyelid. So there's like." Tommy and TK started treating her, and she was like pulling out like 12 of them. I'm like, oh my god, this is why I will never wear contacts.
Exactly. I said the same thing. I said I will never do that.
Oh my god. And and they were treating her, and I think afterwards, like, she could have been okay, but Tommy wanted to take her and get her checked out, and Tommy's like, "Oh yeah, no, this was nothing." She's like, in the UK there was somebody that had like 27 left in their eye,
and I fact checked
that
actually is a real legitimate thing.
Yeah,
there's an actual article
believe
on
it. Yeah, I believe it.
Listen, I believe just about anything when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah,
I know.
Like,
well, they had to get somewhere.
Surely someone out there,
right?
Yeah.
Yep. And just as they're, heading outside with her on a gurney to take her to the hospital, which is a different hospital than they would normally go to, guess who shows up? Paragon. And guess who's the lead paramedic? Our lovely
Pierce.
I knew that was coming. I
Pierce
said weeks ago, if anybody would work for Paragon, it would be Pierce. He would be perfect for them.
Yeah. I'll save my comments for later.
Yeah, exactly.
And
we all know how we feel about Pierce in this podcast,
right? And then Pierce starts talking to this couple like he's their best friend, and he's like, "Why didn't you call us?" And the guy's like, "Well, I just called 911." And he's like, "Did you lose our number?" So apparently this couple has been treated by Paragon in the past, and they've called them directly to come take care of them. And like, of course, like as soon as Tommy said that they were going to a certain hospital, then Pierce is like, "Oh, but I'm kind of concerned about the husband. And he's like, I'm kind of concerned about his heart rate and he's the stress, and we could, do this." And we have all. I was like, "Oh my god, you are an asshole." But this is the whole storyline for the show: is Paragon and the 126 are going to be battling it out. I'm like, this is going to come to a head somehow. And basically, Paragon showed up, stole the patient, because they agreed that they should go with them because they already were familiar with their case, and they could give him a fresh smoothie on the way to the hospital. Yep. And I feel bad for them standing there. So I mean, in my area there's two different paramedic systems. There's the county paramedic systems, or the city, and then there is like a private ambulance company that often but they work together. Like usually the private ambulance would show up when the firefighter ambulance needed to go to another call and they needed them. So I'm like, I'm not surprised there's a secondary ambulance system, but I'm just surprised they're responding to calls the same way that the 126 is done. Yeah. Tommy was I loved how she was it her or Nancy? I couldn't remember what she said.
It was Tommy.
It was Tommy talking about him being a rat bastard.
That was so funny. I never my mom used to say stuff like that all the time, but it's just funny hearing her say stuff like that. And I loved when they were pulling the contacts out of the lady's eye, and Nancy's like, "That's like a clown car."
Oh yeah, that was a good line.
Funny.
Yeah.
And Nancy's like, can they do that? Take their patient. Tommy's like, "Well, I'm gonna find out." Let me go to our next scene, and it's a stand up for cancer vet, which I'm totally a supporter of.
Oh yeah.
Owen is there, doing a speech, probably the keynote speaker. it's a a time for him to kind of share. And he didn't share a lot, but he shared enough to kind of explain that he'd gone through cancer treatment, and they were, basically had invited a bunch of these rich people from town to come and donate to the cause. And I loved seeing TK and Carlos dressed up together.
I know.
I'm just excited for like the next time officially it's going to be at their wedding.
I know somebody made a video. They were like, if the next time we see them in suits, it better be at their freaking wedding. And I'm
I
like,
know, right?
literally. I know. It was weird though. Them like, talking to these rich people was weird. Especially when Carlos was like basically bragging about getting kidnapped. It was a little odd. It's just like, yeah, like I got kidnapped, and I'm like, dude, okay, this is the first time we hear him talk about that, and this is how we hear it. I'm like, okay, that's a little weird, but okay.
And I did anybody else see the parallels from 204 with like Carlos saying something, or like, remember 204, TK's talking to the bartender, and like Carlos comes up and, it's like kind of being all like protective of TK. This was almost like that when TK comes over and starts getting, protective of Carlos and saying all these other things.
Oh yeah, I
like,
kind of get that vibe.
I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
And so people were mentioning, oh my God, it's official. Carlos is officially unmarried. And I was like, just because the woman called her his ex-wife doesn't necessarily mean that's happened, but
I kind of
possibly.
I don't know. I feel like that might be true just because like they've been like full on in plan mode. So I feel like they're trying to drop subtle hints that like, okay, this is where we're at without saying anything.
Why can't they just say it?
I know.
Yeah.
Why can't you
One
actually be
sentence
like,
somewhere in the middle of a scene?
why can't Carlos be
The
like,
reference
okay, done, it's
Divorce
done.
finalized. Let's go drink and celebrate. Like,
Right.
like seriously.
I know, like, yeah, I don't know. That's how
It's
I
nice
feel
to know
on it.
things for certain. That's just kind of mine.
I know.
Like, I see what you're saying with hints, and I'm sure they are. But
They're always hinting at something.
hints don't go well when you consider that if we took everything that is hint as fact, but he's married. So let's not.
I mean, in my brain, they're
Sorry,
married.
I had to throw that in.
I mean, in my head, that they're married for sure. They're married with a child. Christopher.
I had to throw that in.
We love it.
Yeah. Nope. Hey,
I'm
I love
sure
it.
the whole fandom can
I'm
agree
not
on
lying.
that.
I agree.
The whole buddy fandom will agree on that.
And okay, so did anybody else get a little weirded out when Judd was trying to like explain the ladder truck? Because I got a little uncomfortable.
He was so uncomfortable.
Oh,
I feel like Judd just doesn't know how to talk to like civilians, I guess. 'Cause, like, especially when talking about that, I'm just like, yeah, that was a little like that scene is like for Judd and Grace, it was good, but I was just like, okay, that's a little I don't know what's happening.
Right. And it was so funny, like when he starts talking about like football, he's like, yeah, we call it our team, and he's like, what do you do? He's like, I own the team. And it's like, oh my God, this is funny.
It's like, of course you do.
Like, of course, these are rich people
Yeah.
that don't act like people, or at least
I know,
and not in comparison.
They feel like from another planet or something. To be honest.
Yeah. So also in this kind of firehouse scene, we have Owen talking to this lady behind the bar, which we initially think is the bartender, but she's not the bartender. But they start kind of flirting back and forth, and Owen finds out she's not the bartender, and she'd just gone back there to get a drink because the bartender was out. And they end up going back to Owen's and having some fun. And this morning she's gone, and Mateo's like, oh, she left a note. And so, and Nancy also stayed over. So apparently she's been doing a lot of that lately. And
we love to not think about it.
Yeah. Inside the note that Kendra left for Owen was a check for $100,000 made out to Owen.
Mateo's like, she paid you. And I'm like, oh dear Lord.
Oh, where's this
going? I'm just gonna say right here that if I slept with someone and they left me money, I would think the exact same thing, the exact same conclusion that has been reached.
That's very weird.
Which is kind of insulting, if I'm being honest. Yeah, actually, no, that's insulting. Not kind of. That is very insulting.
Is very insulting.
He feels weird about it.
I know. I would feel weird too. That's weird.
What's odd is he's the only one that feels weird about it, at least kind of in the round of people that we see him talk with it with. Like, I'm sorry, Mateo's useless in this episode. I kind of feel like he fed into all the wrong parts.
I know. It was,
but even
not...
Judd surprised me later on.
Yeah, I feel like Owen was obviously insulted, as he should be. And but like everyone else was like, oh, you should be like acting like, oh, you should be proud. No, why would you be proud of that?
Right.
Listen, like
that's
sex
weird.
work, that's a legitimate profession. Like, respect to them, all their rights, everything like that. But when you're not, and it's a circumstance like this, it's just it's condescending.
Oh yeah, it was
exactly.
It was very
basically just equates him to adulthood, if we're being honest.
It was very
at
poor
least
communication
for
on
her
her part.
Right.
Yeah, she left in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, how old is this woman? She is acting 18.
I know. It's like I gotta get home before. Yeah,
right,
exactly.
Before
that's literally
carriage turns into a pumpkin.
So that.
Yeah, so our next scene is Tommy is storming into the chief paramedic office to talk to the chief, and just starts railing on the chief about Paragon, because she found out that the city cut a deal with Paragon that apparently Paragon is going to be taking up some of the calls from the city, and explains, she's like basically cussing out and calling Paragon bad names, which, hey, she worked for them for I don't know how long, but it was like 6 months. She has every right to know what's going on behind the scenes. She can call it like it is.
She knows how they work.
She knows exactly what's going on,
right? And the CEO,
or at least she has a good idea if she doesn't know things for certain,
right? And the CEO from Paragon was sitting right there in the office, and because the captain kept trying to like, well, we could talk about this later. Yeah, so he was
honestly, he deserved that.
He did.
I know. We're not.
I hate him. I forgot how much I hated him.
I know. Yeah. I remember we never really got like closure of him. Like, I really wanted them to be like cuss him out. Like,
oh yeah, me too.
Like at the time, and we never got that. And it's just
it comes in use here.
I know.
Well, and because Tommy brought up like they price gouge their patients, they upsell everything, they force drugs onto patients they might not need. They give them things they don't need. And then, the chief explains that they cut a deal that 35% of their profits from Paragon is going to go back to the city if they can pick up part of the city's load of, medic calls.
That's the only reason why they're agreeing to work with them, is because they're going to share the profits.
It's all
about money.
Which, to be fair, it's departments like the police department, taking aside any defund the police talk, because it doesn't really play into here, but let's just say government funded departments like the police and the fire are just generally underfunded,
right?
And they always need more people. They're always stretched thin, constantly hiring. I see the appeal for them, but it sucks when it's like this.
Yeah. Well, and I've seen it too. Like, I had a friend who had to have paramedics call. The city paramedics came to treat them, but because the city paramedics didn't deem it like an emergent, like, oh my God, we got to rush now to the hospital, they sat around and they waited for the private ambulance company to come. My friend let them ride, take the private ambulance to the hospital. And like a month later, she gets a bill from the private company for like hundreds of dollars for her transport that wasn't covered on her medical because she didn't use the city system. So yeah, they totally price gouged, and they purposely don't work with medical companies for things like that. So yeah, like I am not supportive of certain things like this. It's if you're just gonna steal money from people, basically, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, like you're taking advantage of people.
The health system in the country is bad enough.
I know.
Like, let's not even get started on.
Oh yeah. So we're back at the station, and Tommy's sharing that apparently Paragon is partnered with EMS, has 3 other companies in the past. I think she said Shreveport, Houston, and one other one. Or anyways, 2 of them within a year lost all their paramedics in the city and went just private paramedics. And Shreveport was able to get out of it because their paramedics responded to more calls and was there first for most calls to kind of drive Paragon out of And so they're like, what are we going to do? And that's like, we're going to have to beat him to him. Oh, God. And here comes the rat race with them. But before we go on to that rest of that storyline, then we got Mateo and Owen are walking in. And Mateo is comparing Owen to Richard Gere's character in American Gigolo.
I find Richard Gere so funny because he literally was from my city and he went to the same high school I did. Obviously, way before my time because he's a lot older than me. But I just find him so funny that he's brought up.
Oh my God, I love Richard Gere. I've been a fan of him since An Officer and a Gentleman from the 80s, early 80s. He's an amazing actor. But that's awesome. I had no idea.
It's really funny.
Yeah,
I know, and
that's
people
really cool.
Yeah, it's really funny. Yep.
So then, like, I think everybody from the 126 is sitting around the table, TK included, and they start talking about like, Owen got some money from Kendra because they had sex last night, and she got money, and Owen's like, he's like, I don't want to talk about this, and yeah, this is disgusting. Like, and it's not professional to talk about that stuff at work. So like that should never have come out at all.
Yeah, I'm more like, I don't dislike the storyline. Like, I don't really care for like the Owen side of the storylines this episode, and not because of Owen's fault or anything like that. It's mostly the writer's fault. Why did we bring this up? And why did we make this so disgusting? Like, obviously, like sex work, I'm not saying that's disgusting. It's not like an icky thing. It's the fact that they brought this up and they made it seem that way, or they painted, like, they just painted a weird image, and they just painted like a weird thing. Like, I don't know how exactly to put it, but I'm sure everyone knows exactly what I mean. It's just weird, and I'm like, what were you smoking when you thought of the storyline? Be like, hey, we should have Owen just accuse this woman of basically giving him money because he just slept with her. Like, yeah, that's a great idea. And like, I'm gonna bring up this too. Like, why is every single woman that Owen comes into contact with and has some type of romantic or whatever you want to call it relationship of, why is that every woman like the same woman but just in a different font? Because like, I don't know, I can draw so many connections between every single like he has a type. Like, after Gwen, he had a type. Like, he went for all these blondes. Like, every single woman he dated after Gwen was a blonde. Obviously, we don't know what the ex-wife looked like, the second ex-wife. But like, okay,
I think we can make.
I'm gonna assume, but like, it's just weird. And also, like, I feel like he also goes for women in power because Gwen was a lawyer. Then we had literally a psychology professor with a PhD. We had so many women that were like, just like in such like, I'm like, okay, this is like, I'm making so many connections about Owen right now.
Now, what's interesting is like Gwen. I love Gwen. She was great. Still
I know,
miss
I
her a
love
little
her.
bit,
I miss
honestly.
her.
Like, she was great. If you think about all these women, they are basically the non-premium version of Gwen. Like, Gwen was the premium version of herself.
That's so true.
She was confident. She was smart. She had so many of these things, and she knew how to handle Owen.
For sure.
Even if they didn't work out, like, I'm not saying their relationship was great, but I feel like this should say something. Like, he keeps going after women that are the downgrade version of his ex-wife. Like, what does he think is going to happen here? But she wore it all with class, with grace. Like, she was Gwen. She made it work.
Yeah.
The other women don't wear. Now, I liked Catherine, but in the same instance, like, generally, there's just something all lacking what made those qualities work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. This is definitely Owen's version of like finding himself. And I think, I know a lot of people talk about his, constant into like midlife crisis. And I definitely feel like he's there for sure. Yeah. And I think this is a good time to mention, guess who's back in uniform? Arjan. I'm so
yes.
She was at the event, and this is obviously quite a few weeks after because she's healed and back on the job from a gunshot wound. So this was definitely not just a week or two later.
Oh yeah. She's back. She's looking good. I know we didn't really see much of her, but we saw her and we love it.
So we're on to our second call, and it's a little weird because the 126 doesn't actually get the call. Tommy's been listening to the radio, and she heard that Paragon actually got the call, but she's like, we need to get there first. So she and Tommy and Nancy, or TK and Nancy, head out to this call. And as soon as Tommy tells Grace that they're responding, Grace is like, no, we've already got Paragon on the way. Tommy calls Grace on the phone to get step-by-step instructions on how to beat Paragon there, because she does not want to lose her job to Paragon. And I'm like, oh my God.
Such an icon.
Right. And so the call is basically this guy has a catheter in his femoral artery in his leg. And unfortunately, there was a bump or something happened. I kind of missed. I must have looked away from the TV. And so his catheter got pulled out completely. And so he's basically blood everywhere, gushing. And so it's all over the place. And, everybody has to get off the bus. And of course, it's on a city bus. You've got metal floors, blood, which is a very slippery fluid. And
really
so they end up getting there, the 126. I don't know how they did it. It was funny to watch TK sliding around in the back of the ambulance, but they made it first. So Tommy claims the incident commander position. And when, Paragon gets there, they're like, oh, you can pass out waters. But I liked what happened during it, though, because even though Paul, Nancy, and Mateo did go in the bus to help this guy, it took him a while to tourniquet his leg and get him out of there because of how slick it was. The guy was failing fast because he'd lost so much blood, and then he crashes, and they realize they're like 15 minutes away from a hospital, so no, he's not going to make it. Insert Paragon. Tommy says, if you guys still have whole blood on the rigs for Paragon, they can have the patient because they needed a transfusion. So Pierce has his partner get the blood, and they transfuse the guy. Did not like the guy pushing TK out of the way. Was not happy about that. I was not.
Oh no. Sheesh. Paragon's got an attitude problem, but sadly and goodly, at least they know what they're doing.
I guess that's the
they
only
just have an
thing.
attitude problem.
Right. Yeah.
I know they act like they're on their high horses, we're better. It's like
we're private, we're exclusive, we're private.
Literally
Love their money. We are the United States healthcare system embodied.
Right.
Literally.
And then thankfully the guy wakes up, Paragon takes him, and I can't remember if it was before or after, but then Owen and Tommy are talking, and he goes, Owen's like, well, that's one smug son of a bitch. And Tommy's like, God, I hate that guy. And it was, I think earlier in the scene, Owen's like, why do they look like ski instructors?
Yeah, that was so
I
fun.
love that line. It was great. We
And
just
then
the history here.
Yeah. Which means he never saw TK working for Paragon.
Oh, see, it was in the freaking woods.
Yep. So I bet he has no idea that TK worked for Paragon.
I think he probably knows after the fact, or maybe he knew during and he was just already gone.
Yeah.
But he never saw that side of his son, and that is a funny thing to think about.
Right. Yep. So
I feel like he would have enjoyed that way too much, just making comments about it.
Right. Oh yeah. And so then Owen has Kendra back over to the house. She's bringing her favorite food. So Owen's thinking rich and fancy. So he sets all this candlelight dinner set up, and she shows up with hamburgers from someplace in town, and they start talking. And guess who shows up? Buttercup's back.
Oh yeah, I literally screamed it, and I was like, "It's Buttercup!"
I literally
best part of the
episode because
yes,
not watching it live, so I rewind on and see. I'm like, he's my boy.
Buttercup's back.
And so she's asking how old he is, and Owen's like, they weren't able to tell me at the rescue. And she's like, you rescued a full breed Bernese mountain dog at a shelter? And he's like, no, I actually adopted him from a clinic where they were taking care of dogs who have the same cancer as I did. And she's like, you adopted a cancer dog. So they have another night of fun, and Owen in the morning gets a Venmo with $40,000 and a bone emoji in the little picture. And she's giving him, so far he's gotten $140,000 from this woman. She may have gotten it the wrong way. Just donate it to a good cause.
I know, he's like, I gotta return it. I'm like, no, you donate that.
Judd had it right with that one. Like, you donate that shit.
Donate that stuff. He's like, we need a smoker around here. I was like, yeah, leave it to Judd to think about that.
I mean, you are donating to the fire department in that case.
Right?
The 126 needs things too.
Yeah.
They're underfunded.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They should put a rebuilding fund for the 126, so the next time that there's an explosion or some other major catastrophe,
please
they've got
don't
a building
speak it
fund.
into existence. But you're not wrong.
You're not wrong. It's bound to happen. I'm surprised it hasn't happened with the luck they have.
Right. So our next scene is another paramedic, Paragon versus TNT. Unfortunately, Paragon had beat them, several Paragon units. So unfortunately, Pierce is the incident commander, and Tommy, Nancy, and TK have to take orders from him, which get stuck in handing out waters to the looky-loos because Pierce is being an asshole, which he always is, but even more so right now because he's got a high horse. Brand. Yeah. And Pierce is talking to the guy that had been in the main area, and they weren't sure what this chemical was that was released. And so why does it matter what medical the guy has? But Pierce has got to ask because Paragon wants to know. And as soon as he found out that, the guy had a certain medical, he's like, yep. He's like, we're going to, I'm like, oh yeah, you're asking because you need to know so you can get money out of them. And TK had noticed when they got there that it smelled like Thanksgiving. And it was some essential oils that got released that can smell like pumpkin pie.
I was so confused when that line was said, and then they elaborate on it. I'm like, good nose.
And I loved how Buttercup. Yeah, and I love how Nancy was teasing him about being a basset hound. That was good.
Yeah, that's more like what it is. Basset hound beagle.
Right. And so Hazmat had been in the building trying to figure out what it spilled. They did find out what happened, and it basically said it was a false alarm. It was just some extra chemicals that shouldn't have been released or dropped or exposed. So the guy that was totally fine 5 minutes ago is now on a stretcher being wheeled to a Paragon ambulance by Pierce and his partner. And they're like, wait. So Nancy's like, I gotta say something. Tommy's like, no, I'll do it. So she basically calls Pierce out on being I don't even remember what she called him, but yeah, he's got a power trip and he was trying to use it and squeeze money out of this guy for no reason because this guy was completely fine. And then Pierce is like, well, you'll be hearing from the chief. He's like, you being insubordinate and all this stuff. And, Pierce is, of course, going to go tattletale, which Pierce does well, as we know from previous episodes he's been in. And Pierce is his partner and the patient get in the van, and TK, Tommy, and Nancy start to walk away. And guess what? The van explodes.
Oh, shocker.
So naturally, they all have to go running to rescue Pierce and the other people, which I'm like, karma's a bitch, especially in this situation.
Karma is a bitch.
I know, that was literally
and we love
karma. It was straight karma because he was just threatening them so much. Right. And it was just like, yep.
Right. And
now
Pierce,
you don't like that bitch.
Right, I know.
And Pierce had some trauma, and they had to do some in the field treatment for Pierce, and I think he kind of learned his lesson, hopefully, prayerfully.
I hope so.
Which leads to the next night where we have Owens brushing Buttercup.
So cute.
I was so but those dogs do need a lot of brushing.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So much hair that comes with that.
So Kendra stops by again, and Owen and her have a conversation, and she explains to him that her brother died of cancer, and she's like, oh great. She's like, money's ruined another relationship. He's like, he's trying to kind of backtrack, and there's just it was
started it. I'm sorry, you could not communicate.
Right? Can because like she's like, oh, talk. She's like, well, I donated, so she's like, I expected you to donate the money. And he goes, well, you wrote it out in my name. If you're going to donate it, why didn't you just donate it that night to Stand Up for Cancer? That was the whole like fundraiser for that stuff. And she's like, well, she didn't like doing it that way. That's the vibe I was getting, is that she just wasn't that kind of person and didn't want to flash her money around. So she,
That's the point of the event.
yeah.
If
And,
I can understand
Listen.
it if she didn't want to, be like that, or she didn't want to like flash
Right.
her money around or put her name out there, or whatever her
Donate
reason
privately.
was. But like, at least tell him and not make him think that you were paying him just because you slept together.
right.
Like, at least be like, hey, can you donate this money? I just don't want my name
Right.
to be out there. Have a conversation.
Right. And then the money she got with the
Or
bone, that was all.
donate privately.
Yeah,
Oh
you
yeah,
can
you
go
could be
on.
anonymous.
Was it Stand Up to Cancer? I think it's
Stand up to
org.
cancer.
You can do it online. It takes like 10 seconds. Yeah.
Here's what I finally pinpointed what bothers me so much about this. The whole situation. Switch the gender roles, and we have a massive issue on our hands.
Oh yeah.
Because say that Tommy took a rich hunk home and he left in the middle of the night with a check. No one would be forgiving him at any point. No one would be no one, for one thing, no one would be congratulating her. They'd all be going,
No.
girl, that's so messed up.
I know there'd
Lock
be.
him, tear up that check. Owen's getting hailed as some sort of
I know, I hate that.
escort. Like,
I know.
hey, you got lucky that night. Like, and you got a little extra on the side. The gender roles are fucked up in this.
Yeah.
Simply
Oh, yeah.
because if you cannot turn it the other way, then it might not be that great of an idea.
Yeah. Yeah, not to mention when you turn it around, there's a lot other things that are thrown around than Owen got a pat on the back, basically. Like, oh, good job.
Exactly. I've been
It's
thinking it through
disgusting.
this entire recording session on why it bothered me so much, because I couldn't find the words. And I finally did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't like her.
I don't
And I'll
either.
just say that. I don't like her. I hope she disappears after a while. But we don't have to see her too much.
That's true.
Yeah.
And I hope Owen. There were times during this where you could tell Owen was just kind of uncomfortable with the whole situation, and he wanted something real. He thought they connected, kind of thing. So underneath of the whole typical Owen thing, I feel like he's trying to have something else work. He's actually trying to make it work this time.
Right. Yeah.
And then this
like-
happens. It's like,
Yeah. And like when he first encountered this and he thought that she paid him, he was about to shut it down real fast.
Mm-hmm.
And like he was trying to figure out like what was going on, or if it was genuine, or what the
Right.
heck was going on. So like, no faults to him, but it was just like a really bad storyline for them to even
Right.
bring up. Like, what was the reason?
Yeah.
I don't see one.
And then when she, tried to explain the whole like the bone emoji, that could be a lot of things. And she's like, well, because it was like related to a dog. She's like, I wanted you to donate it to like the dog rescue that you got Buttercup from. And I'm like,
You couldn't have used the dog emoji?
or I don't know, put, for donating to rescue. Ooh, what a concept. And then her, well, I was trying to be cute. I'm like, come on. How old are you?
She's probably at least in her 40s.
she better be. But like,
Well, he's in
just
his
say,
50s.
remember, he's in his 50s, like any other, like,
I would say
it depends on the woman.
mid to
but
late
still,
40s, possibly 50s.
Yeah.
I'd say early 40s, but like I would agree with mid 40s. I don't know, she looks good, however old she is, but like,
Yeah, she's a beautiful woman. I just feel like she was very mixed up with her priorities and, going about things very weirdly.
Communication is not a strong point in this episode.
No,
At least
it's
not in this situation.
Yeah,
not
for
really.
sure.
You've got two different examples. You've got, what is even her name? The the girl. What's her name?
Kendra.
It's Case. Kendra. You've got Kendra who cannot communicate at all. And then you've got Tommy who will not stop communicating and very vividly.
Right.
And we love her for that. So
She speaks her mind,
No,
and
we don't.
I can relate to that, and I
Yeah.
try to, and
in this situation.
we love a woman who can speak her mind.
Amen. Speaking of women who can speak her mind, let's go on to the final scene of the episode with Tommy going to visit Pierce. And I think she was trying to throw out an olive branch by delivering some flowers. She was trying to check on him in the hospital, see how he was doing. And then he just says, I'm not going to sue you. You know, the doctors at the hospital said she had missed her calling. And he's like, I don't agree. He's like, I think you were in the right spot. And before he could really explain the suing part of it, Jacques from Paragon shows up and it's like, oh, I just checked, we brought this, whole like goodies basket of all this crap. And
spa day.
Oh my God.
I'm like, are you kidding me? A spa day, and this dude is literally like
I'm just looking at like aloe vera because he's got burns all down his face. I'm like, I'm looking from like the gift basket to Pierce, and I'm just like, yeah, that's not going to go
right.
what you think it is.
And he's like, and I think Jacques says, if you need anything else, don't hesitate to call. It was an on-the-job injury. And Pierce's like, how about 15 million? He's like, no, actually, how about 20 million? And Jacques thinks he's kidding at first.
I want a scooter.
All of a sudden, Pierce is like, he's like, I'm going to take you for everything you're worth. He's like, we've been working with faulty machines. He's like, the O2 regular blew up because they were trying to transfer the patient from one oxygen to another, and the one on the rig was not properly installed. They're using used equipment.
It was
refurbished equipment that was not properly taken care of or maintained. So of course they're saving money by using cheaper stuff or lesser quality stuff. So their overhead is higher, which, that's just one of the few things he was complaining about. And Jacques was like, oh, well, he complained about things all the time. But Pierce had kept track of all those complaints that he had. So he's going to sue him. And I was like, Paragon's getting what they deserve. Oh, but I don't know if we're going to actually see any more of this because I really don't.
It'll probably be
Pierce
like
back.
5 episodes later. Paragon went out of business. Oh, we're so surprised. I kind of hope that
here's
happens.
the thing. We don't like Pierce because he's been an asshole for so long.
Mm-hmm.
But in this, I just looked at him like, see, this is what happens when you're not an asshole. When you actually apply being an asshole to the right people.
Right.
I'm just like, if you just like kept away your assholery and worked on the same side, this could actually work. Because I'm sorry, I just had an iconic moment of just picturing Pierce and Tommy actually working together on something and like not being assholes to each other. Right. All started by him. We know that. I'm like, damn, this could be an opportunity. Yeah. I know. I just was like, respect.
Oh, and at least Pierce was realizing where he needed to put his fight to, and it's not against Tommy, it's against the people that could have taken his life.
Yeah, he almost died.
Yeah. And it's sad that unfortunately companies go under because all it takes is one person to get injured in a very poorly maintained vehicle or anything, and the next thing you know, you're losing employees or there's some big accident. So
right.
For me overall, I like the episode. I know we kind of talked that it is. I definitely feel like it was a filler episode because the majority of the storylines are probably not going to come back in the next episode. There might be a mention of it, or I don't know. We might see Kendra back. I heard that there's going to be another love interest for Owen, but I don't know if it's going to be her.
I didn't hear that. I heard that I was like, oh dear God, I hope she doesn't come back. And people are like, I think she is coming back. And I did read an interview of like what they plan to do, and I'm like, oh God, well, I hope this dies down real fast. And like, I was calling this a filler because the synopsis for this episode when it came out was so boring. And I was like, okay, this sounds like a boring, not that it sounded like boring episode, but I was like, it just sounds like a filler. And people were like, oh no, but like, okay, the best part of the episode was like the paramedic stuff and Buttercup showing up. So filler. And fillers aren't bad episodes. You need fillers because there's a lot of stuff happening. Like there's a lot of major storylines You
Mhm.
need something to fill the gaps.
Right.
When we say filler, we don't. Yeah, like what Kate just said, we don't mean bad episode because this was
Exactly.
a good episode.
It was well written, and there was
Even
a lot
with
of
my
great
gripes
content.
with some things, like it was a good episode. It gives good content.
Yep.
And there's just this sweet, beautiful karma, and I love my girl.
Right.
But anyway, we're going back. We'll say if we actually think something's a bad episode. This was not it. It was good. It was just a filler,
Right.
placeholder.
And then we got some awesome, cute little moments. Like we got to see Buttercup back for the first time this season.
Buttercup!
We got a little bit of Tarlos, and I want to say this, and I think a lot of people know this, but they haven't like pieced it together. But TK and Carlos are well past the whole like honeymoon phase. They're a couple. They're doing events together. They're there for each other. We don't need to see them holding hands and like lovey-dovey the whole time because I don't think that's them.
I know. I hate when people say like, "Well, we don't get this every episode," and I'm like, "Okay, let's be real. Okay, they are a seasoned couple. We don't need to see them like all over each other all the time. There are scenes where they do not know what personal space is. They're definitely in each other's bubble, and we love to see it. Like last episode, TK was literally asleep on Carlos, and yes, bring it more. But like, we don't need we can see them literally just be normal everyday people, like a normal everyday couple as they are. Without them like having their hands all over each other all the time.
Exactly. And
are you like that all the time? I don't think so.
Right. And yeah, Judd and Grace are the same. They're not all snuggling up to each other every 5 minutes. Half the time one of them has the kid in their arms.
Exactly.
Or she's making dinner and Judd's folding laundry. I mean, it's literally like they're being domestic. And it's not always about just physical touch. It's just having a partner to do life with. And that's what TK and Carlos are at right now. Because I've seen a lot of people like, we're not getting this, and we're not getting kisses, and we're not getting hand holding, and like, but TK put his hand on Carlos's back, and they talked to each other. They stood next to each other. They were smiling at each other. That's all good stuff.
Yeah, I've seen very little of that, but
it was a thing when it was still a relationship that was newer. We didn't get to see a lot of. Carlos was less of a regular than he is now. And we were like, give us everything. Come on, why are there no kisses? But like, there was a legitimate cause for that then. And of course, we'll take everything we get. Like, if there were kisses, more hand-holding, more lovey-dovey, we wouldn't complain.
Exactly.
EJ described it perfectly, though. Domestic couples living out life. And this is also like a dramatized representation, sure, but it is a dramatized representation of real life. I'll just say straight out that like the over lovey-dovey couples that like are doing everything in public view and don't take a break usually are the ones with issues. So just in my experience, they're fine. And we're going to get a wedding soon.
Yep.
I'll get all I need served then.
Yes.
I know.
Any additional final thoughts before we go on to fan thoughts?
There's only one, but it's long, so that actually works out well.
There you
go. I loved the TNT episode. I thought all the emergencies were great. First one grossed me out. My favorite emergency was the kidney dialysis emergency. I liked that this episode really commented on the healthcare system and why these private companies are so shady. I loved all the Tommy, Nancy, TK stuff. My favorite was definitely them racing to the emergency while Grace was on the phone. I also really liked how they didn't really redeem Pierce. He just used his negative traits for good. Also, 10 out of 10 episodes mentioning wedding. I liked how this episode also showcased how Mateo is actually smart, and I liked that he listened to Crime and Punishment for Nancy. Also, again, he's listening to an audiobook just like how in season 1, everyone recorded themselves so he could study. I thought the Nancy Mateo scenes are cute. Even though I'm not fully on board with the relationship, I'm glad that we got Buttercup back, and I'm glad that Owen's experience with cancer was talked about. I liked the fundraiser. I liked the Owen storyline when he was talking to 126 about it. So much of a storyline made me cringe. I think we were all cringing because it reminded me of the storyline in 313, and it was the same culprits. As funny as those scenes with the 126, Judd and Mateo are, they really tend to make Owen down spiral. Okay, that is so true. I don't know. Yeah. This is one of those storylines where like next season we'll look back at it and I'll be like, yeah, I try to forget that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
it. That's okay. I totally forgot about the Mateo part, but it was really cool that he was, and it's showing its continuation of a character story, you know, as we know he can't read, but he can listen, and he comprehends very well when he listens. So I'm really glad he's doing that, and it's still working for him.
Yeah, like totally missed that part, really, but like we love it. And I would like to like hop on the little thing about Owen's cancer being mentioned. Really, we haven't heard about it mentioned in a while.
I know.
Like, we focus more on the PTSD from 9/11, which is important, but the cancer kind of just went under the table. And so I really want to take a moment and be like, yes, we love having that talk about.
I know, it was funny though, because my friend and I always do lives after the episodes air, and she was like, I kind of forgot when it cancer for a minute, and I'm like,
same, actually.
And like people were actually commenting that, and I was like, okay, that's funny, but I'm like, it's funny because like it's not that I forgot that he had cancer, it's just that we don't talk about it that much. And honestly, that was like season 1, and even like it rolled into season 2 a little bit. But like I don't really think about it now that we're in season 4, because like it's not something that like we really talk about that much, so it is kind of funny when people say that.
Yeah, like 95% of the storyline was resolved by the end of season 2.
Yeah, like literally just wrapped.
Yeah,
so funny because like the cancer bed, I only got really reminded of that when they mentioned the tumor cake, which I completely forgot.
Last episode.
Not this episode, but last episode. Just wanted to throw that in. What were you gonna say, EJ?
Nothing. I was just say I was gonna ask, and because I just saw something. There's, I guess, some confusion on regarding like what episodes the next couple episodes are going to air in. So we're going to just explain what we saw as the next promo. I'm thinking this is the next episode.
Okay, the next one isn't screwed up, but I think what was originally supposed to be 12 is
13 and 14 are switched around or something like that.
I forget. A fan did ask him, and he cleared it up, and he was like, don't pay attention really to like the numbers, because we shoot the episodes out of order. Like he was like, we literally shot episode 9 Roadkill before we shot Control Freaks episode 8. So like they shoot them out of order, and also like sometimes like something might happen in one episode, but they might move it to a different episode. Like that happened last season, I think, during the snowstorm. There were different things that were supposed to happen in different episodes, and those got flipped.
Yeah. So this one should be it. I don't think it's going to be changing, but I'm hoping they have like an order and like the proper like promos for the next few episodes, so we don't get confused.
I don't think, like, obviously when they air the promos, they're gonna have that right.
Yeah. So the next episode is 411, and we see Mateo talking, I believe, to Owen and Nancy about how his cousin Marvin in LA got arrested, has been arrested, is in jail. And then he's explaining to Owen that like he has to clear Marvin's name. Mateo's like, that's something I should have done a long time ago. And then Nancy's like, you could lose everything. I think she's talking to Mateo.
Oh yeah, she is, because she's there too.
Yeah. And then we see a lady with an arrow in her neck. I think some neighbor kids were playing with a dart, like an arrow gun or something, and shot it through some bushes and hit this woman. And she's not bleeding, barely at all, but they think she hit the jugular. So again, kids with weapons, not a good idea. Do not mix. Yeah.
That's why you get the little arrows with like the plungers on the end of them. Not a real fucking point.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's
also don't
gonna
let
be
them
an
run
interesting
around in wild
episode. It's gonna be weird too, because obviously if if you watch Lone Star but maybe don't watch 911, or you have watched 911 and you didn't connect the dots, Jules, who plays Mateo, originally played a character called Marvin in the season 2 premiere of 911. I believe it was 2 and 3 episodes, or 1 and 2. His character helped Athena rescue a guy after the earthquake.
Right. Yeah.
And so, he was a kid, he's getting into some trouble, and then, insert a couple years later, we see Jules playing Mateo. And during the crossover with Eddie, Hen, and Buck in Texas, there was a mention of Mateo's cousin Marvin in LA.
Oh yeah, I remember he kept asking that. He's like, "Do you know my cousin Marvin?"
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, you
You know LA's a big place.
Right.
LA's so big.
Right. So I'm kind of excited to see where this goes.
I know.
Like, I know there was talk about possibly having a very mini crossover, in the sense of like maybe one character ends up in LA. Maybe this is it. I don't know, but I don't know why he would be talking about it and then maybe not doing something about it. So I don't know. We'll see. It looks like another good episode.
Yeah, it's gonna be
I'm
interesting.
so stoked for this.
I know. Because like people have been asking for this, and I know they Tim's like, yeah, people have been asking for this for literally seasons, and be like, are you ever gonna do this? And now like they're doing it, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm so interested to see. It's just it's a weird storyline because like Mateo's like, but I should have cleared his name a long time ago, and I'm like, but like he stole cars.
Right. Yeah.
Like he actually did crime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, like we know him.
Right. And he was underage at the time, so it's all considered minor, and his record to be sealed at 18. So that wouldn't impact him as he has gotten to an adult. But there were certain things he'd done that he could have possibly be tried as an adult for, and then that stuff would not be sealed. So
I know that's what happened. Like in that episode, like when Athena caught him, she's like, "Yeah, but now you're an adult."
Right.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be interesting. I'm like,
yeah.
I wonder what they're gonna. I don't know. I'm so curious what's gonna happen.
And a little Lone Star side note that I got excited about because I love Jeopardy. So guess we had a Jeopardy category that referenced Carlos. And I'm going to read it because it's been going crazy for the last couple of days because everybody's been sharing it. Benito's shared it. Rafa's shared it.
I shared it first. I just want to say that.
Katie shared it. Several fans have shared it. And I think even Ronan has seen it. So the clue is: tough on the streets of Austin, tender with his boyfriend, Officer Carlos Reyes is on this show with an emergency number in its title.
And nobody got it. Like
nobody got it.
Like Reno 911, and I'm like, that show is so bad.
I'm like, oh my god, 911 Lone Star. Like, that's like they gave you the freaking clue. Like it's an emergency number in the title, and it's set in Austin. Where's Austin? It's in Texas, the Lone Star State. Oh my.
I don't know how. Like people were like, I would have like literally like. That's the one question I would have known, and I'm like literally saying it's funny because like I was literally just chilling before the episode started. I was eating ice cream, and all of a sudden the TV was on, and I was like, I heard Carlos Reyes, and so I was sitting here, and I'm like, did I just hear Carlos? So I take my remote and rewind it, and I watch it, and I'm like, oh my god, I just heard Carlos, and then so I'm watching the part before they're guessing. And they don't get it. And I literally yelled. I'm like, how do you not know that?
I know. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah. So I thought that was really cool. It's like this happened a couple of days ago before we were recording, and I was like, oh my god, I want to mention it because it was like so cool.
I know, it was so cool. And I was like, oh my god, I have to make a video about this real quick. And my friend was like, Katie, you shared this first. I'm like, I know I did.
Yeah. Yes. So we have fun. We catch all sorts of things. There's a lot of fun stuff on there, but it can be a rough place to deal with too on social media. So thank you guys so much for joining us and listening. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Anchor, which is now called Spotify for podcasters. We're also on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts, and everywhere you get your podcasts. On iTunes and Spotify, please rate us and leave a review. That would mean a lot to us. You guys can follow the podcast on our socials at 911 LS Roundup on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And be sure to join our Discord server. The link will be in the description of the podcast and also in our Instagram bio.
You guys can follow me, Katie, at Fellow on Instagram and TikTok.
You guys can follow me, Grace, at RunninRafa911 on Instagram and at CheapGirl31 on Twitter.
You can follow me, EJ, at EJ8302 on Instagram and Twitter.
Bye.